trailblazing goal umpire, Chelsea Roffey. Coming down.
Back with us again. I don't know what she's thinking. Chelsea Roffey, welcome back. Woo.
Thanks, everybody. Yeah, I've taken care of Limo, so good to be back.
Now regular co-host. Woo, look out, Chelsea.
Jordan, Chelsea here. There was a touched off the boot situation, and I noticed, I think it went to review, and some of the commentary team were getting a little bit critical of the fact that in the field of play, like the field umpire would call touched, and then the decision would be reviewed, because they were saying that basically as a player, you could pull up. But I'm just wondering from a player's perspective, if you're, going up for a mark attempt after you hear that touch call, I mean, are you going to still, go for that mark attempt, or are you going to continue your play and then wait for the whistle? How does it play out for you?
I saw Tommy.
Chelsea, I've got another stat. I believe there is one umpires podcast.
Oh, there is indeed.
There is.
Thanks for doing your research on that.
Well, it's my pleasure. And so who does the umpiring podcast?
Chris Donlan, myself and Matt Stevick, who's also a fieldy, umpire referee, the Officials podcast, talks about all things officiating. It delves into some really interesting topics. We had Jerry Ryan talk about corruption. He was in charge of the integrity unit at the AFL. So a few weeks ago we had him on talking about betting in sport, and he's got some fascinating stories.
Works it inside 50. Harris Andrews got a fist to it. Marshall, clever, out of the air. It's gone through. It's not quite still. Oh, I thought it had gone through. It bounced back, pitched, it came back into the field of play.
I wouldn't mind another look.
Almost went through 3 times.
Let's have a look at this. Marshall over the top, pitches running through.
Oh, that's
I
over,
remember he had let it go. I think it certainly would have rolled through.
Oh, no.
And then if he let it go again, Billings could have socketed it through.
Just a game. It's a useful mantra when your job is composure amid chaos. But the reality is, footy's never been just a game to me.
As a kid from South Australia's Yorke Peninsula, I was never far from a footy field. I used to wander the outskirts of the ground with the older kids, Dad in the centre, Mum on the netball courts. I'd have a Cornish pasty in one hand and a bunch of Milkos from the canteen in my pocket. In those days, the standard uniform for goal umpires was an oversized white coat and an even bigger moustache. After shifting to Brisbane, I marvelled at the unstoppable Darren Jarman kicking a bagful for the Crows on TV. I didn't think twice when asked to wave the flags for the boys' teams in high school. The following year, umpiring was the perfect part-time job to complement my studies in clarinet at the Queensland Conservatorium. Both vocations require dexterous index fingers.
Sure. One of your biggest challenges dealing with the sledging or heckling you would no doubt receive from the cheer squads that are sat about 2 feet behind you?
I do admit you do hear some very interesting things.
Yes.
And, yeah, their observations remain razor sharp regardless of how many beers they've had for the day. So I do appreciate the advice.
Yeah.
But, you hear a lot of things over the fence, and look, some of it's pretty nasty stuff, but some of it's downright funny. So you just got to roll with the punches, as they say.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Yes. Is that woodwind?
I believe so. I'm hoping
Is that
so.
a little bit of sax?
Is that a
clary?
clarinet?
You know I used to play clarinet.
Oh,
Anyway, it works.
Is that retro?
Hi, Chelsea. You're going well?
Really good. I'm well. Hi, Sam.
How are you?
I'm well.
How big will this... You know what it's like. You did it as a goal umpire and you become one of the best in the game. How big a day is this going to be for Aloni Gluftus?
And we're trained to look for, these super tight decisions, and things can be very, very clear as long as you're in the right spot. If it's that tight, though, you want to absolutely be sure that there's nothing that you've missed. Or you have to think about, is there something I could have missed? So that's the other element to it.
We're talking about decisions that could literally be millimetres in it.
Yeah.
You want the technology to be matching the expectation. And for the state of the game and the integrity of getting the score right and doing right by everyone, it's the technology that needs to lift. But I suppose as an umpire, you've got a responsibility to make the call as you see it, and then if you feel it's got to be reviewed, you've got to send it upstairs.
You got to do this.
Cheers.
Heater.
Yes, it is.
Alan, it's Chelsea here. I don't know if you realise this, but I actually umpired your game from the goals last week.
Did you call me back into the goal square at one stage? I was like, yeah, I'm coming.
Oh, thanks for that. Look, we do get assessed on our goal square management, so thanks for doing the right thing there. You had a sensational goal, and I can remember being on the end of it, and it was from the pocket. It was either the third or the fourth quarter, and then you slotted this goal from the pocket, and I reckon I ran as far as any goal umpire would have to run to go left to right and just see it thread the needle. Just wondering, like, do you practice that, or is that something that just comes, out in your game when you really start to move intuitively and just play freely?
Yeah, well, I think that goal you're talking about.
We saw a contact field umpire player on the weekend. Goal umpires are not immune.
Guy from 1966.
Steve
Steve said, have you said this has to be?
I must have seen this footage.
Well, you must have seen this footage because this is one of the all-time favourites. Have a look at it. It's his last. Oh, no! Quick, get up! Can he do it? No,
Come on.
Oh, he's been shot.
No. Oh!
Get up!
It actually takes a lot of training and experience to actually master that move.
What
about this?
Just get the job done. Yeah!
Thumbs up.
Would you have loved to have been?
that.
Would you love to have been around with the butcher coat and the pork pie hat? Would that have been the era for you?
I actually really like that look, and I did once do for Heritage Round. So I got issued with the I think it was a XXL men's size Michelin man suit. So Mum had to actually lop the arms off and actually do a fair bit of sewing and maintain the sponsors label on the back. But we got through it, and it looked amazing.
Oh, there you go.
So I have worn it.
It's going to be a historic day for footy, as it was when you became the first to officiate in a grand final.
Snag sausages.
Snags Bradman. Sausage. Your brain is a troubled place.
Sausage Fest at the AFL.
Is it AFL?
Give them a point. I'm definitely giving you a goal for that one.
All right, thank you.
nice work.
Okay.
Do you guys know what it is, by any chance? It can't be better than AFL.
That's top.
That is gold.
Chelsea, you've discussed some of the highs and lows of your professional career. It's well documented that professional sporting teams engage heavily in sports psychology to improve performance. Does the AFL support umpires with similar strategies to navigate the highs and lows?
Indeed. We've got a fantastic psychologist we work with called Richie Bennett, and his background is in the World Surfing Tour. And I think he's fantastic. He's very chilled. He shows up to our sessions with no shoes and usually sits in a meditative position to deliver the message. And I've had a few one-on-ones with Richie as well. So I think probably some of the bigger lessons that I've learnt from him have been things like the rule of threes. So coming away from a game situation, thinking of at least 3 positives from that game, at least 3, and then no more than 3 negatives. So it's always bringing that positive and strengths-based psychology to performance, which I think particularly in a pursuit like umpiring is really important because you've got a lot of people who aren't happy with you a lot of the time. And probably from Richie as well, it's just, learning to bring yourself into the best state of mind you can in any given moment. And so, he's often reminded me when you're out there having a thought, something's just happened on the ground, maybe not the ideal situation, you're having to bounce back in the moment. What's the most empowering thought you can have in that moment? And always bringing back to the most empowering story. So I think just those little tidbits have been really helpful for me.
Ooh,
nice. Chelsea!
Hey,
fellas,
how you going?
Hi.
Chelsea Roffey, the first woman to umpire an AFL game.
Grand final.
Grand final is what I said. Okay, what's more legendary? Phil Manassa's big run in the 77 grand final, which resulted in a goal.
Fraser Brown's match-saving tackle, 1999.
Manassa. It is
Brown,
gained on the
Brown,
wing.
Brown,
Goal for Manassa.
Brown,
It's a
Brown,
goal for Manassa.
Guys, yeah, got to go.
Come on, Fraser Brown!
Come on.
Match-saving tackle!
Oh.